Tribune. Front page of the Nigerian Tribune starts with protesters at APC Secretariat demand direct primaries. Why are they demanding direct primaries? If you listen to our news this morning, you would discover that these people were saying that the amounts demanded by the APC four parties, the National Working Committee just reviewed, there was an upward review of the prices of nomination forms, and they are beginning to call on the government, on President Buhari, to do something about it, because they said it's tantamount to corruption. So that's why they demanded for direct primaries option, so that everybody, not just the presidential, everybody gets to, have the direct primary option, which gives every member of the party the opportunity to vote for those that they would like to support. I regret not winning Lagos for PDP in 2003. That's Atiku. That's the Vice President Atiku saying that during his meeting with PDP delegates in Lagos. Buhari declines assent to electoral amendment bill. That's the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. Buhari declines assent to electoral amendment bill. That's the Nigerian Tribune. PDP to NAS override Buhari's veto. That's PDP to National Assembly. Buhari declines assent to electoral bill. That's the second bill in the last 2 weeks that the president has refused to assent to. The first one was the petroleum industry bill, and the second one now is the electoral amendment bill. Although for technical reasons, the president did give his reasons, for withholding his assent. Eating red meat, Chinese cheese, good for health. That's Canadian scientists. I think one of these days we're going to look at, the health part of this, and we're going to bring in some of our experts. Okay, we have Mark joins presidential race. That's Senator David Mark. Interesting things coming in from the world of politics. We're moving on straight to the front page of the Guardian. The front page of the Guardian tells us this morning Buhari again declines assent to electoral bill. That's making 2 pages of the newspapers this morning. Says bill is full of errors, 6 quick legislative revision. PDP kicks urges National Assembly to override decision. Party rules out automatic tickets amid protests. INEC raises the alarm over 10 million uncollected PVCs. So the INEC is asking Nigerians, and I'll join my voice to that of INEC this morning. Nigerians, if you have your permanent voters card uncollected, please go and collect your permanent voters card. That is your power. That's the only thing you have to do what you need to do for Nigeria and for yourself in the 2019 general elections. Okay, crude oil sells at $78.24 as output peaks. Police confirm killings of 11 in just by gunmen. And lastly, on the front page of the Guardian, mobile operators defy government deepen insecurity. Flout order on sale of pre-registered votes, SIM cards. NCC flays action. MTN 9 Mobile explains their position. Okay, that's the last story we're taking on the front page of the Guardian. We're moving to the last newspaper we're looking at this morning, and that's the front page of the Punch. The center spread there still carries the story on the electoral bill. Again, Buhari refuses to sign electoral bill. Again there, because the president has refused to sign it once before. This is not the first time. And we'll have the picture of the principal of LEA Junior Secondary School, Alaita FCT, Mrs. Abdullah Itoyin, addressing students after the morning assembly on the front page of the Punch. Federal government extends Lagos-Ibadan Expressway project completion date to December 2019. That's from the Minister for Works Power announcing San Babatunde Fashola. We have 14 die as suspected herdsmen attack Plateau again. That's on the front page of the Punch. Restructuring should dominate 2019 polls. Christian leaders, others, Yoruba elders knock Oshibaju for anti-restructuring comments. Okay, we have some stories down there. Acting DSS bows to presidency, recalls the redeployed officers at Jaokuta Kano pipeline project. Chinese firm to secure 2.38 billion loan. That's one of the investments of the Chinese government in Nigeria. Hairdresser stabs neighbor to death for calling her shaku shaku. Wow, that's an unfortunate one there. Customs intercept 1.5 billion naira smuggled petroleum products. And on business, interesting, Nigeria's external debt rises by 11.77 billion in the last 3 years. That's the much we're taking this morning on the front page of the dailies. Straight into our discussion for the morning, and to open that discussion, we're going to look at a clip from China, the FOCAC summit that is currently taking place in China right now. African leaders are meeting with President Xi Jinping in China, and they're discussing a whole lot of infrastructural projects. I will take a look at that video, and when we come back, we'll go straight into our discussion for today. Please stay with us.
African leaders arrived in Beijing, China for the Forum of China-Africa Cooperation scheduled for September the 3rd to the 4th. Algerian Prime Minister Ahmed Ouhaya, Uganda's Yoweri Museveni, Angola's Joao Lorenzo and Abiy Ahmed, Prime Minister of Ethiopia, were among some of the dignitaries who arrived at the Beijing Capital International Airport on Sunday. Investments on the continent are set to feature prominently at the summit, which begins on Monday. Analysts say the interest in the forum is as a result of China's growing influence on the African continent and proves that FOCAC has been pragmatic and efficient. But critics, including the United States, say the program is overloading poor nations with debt, an accusation that China has denied.
To help promote mutual political trust and mutually beneficial cooperation between China and African nations. The event will also unveil a much-anticipated roadmap for China-Africa cooperation. The summit will conclude with the signing of a declaration and an action plan providing guidelines for China-Africa cooperation over the next 3 years. The documents are expected to build on the 10 major cooperation plans that President Xi announced at the 2015
So one of the things we're looking at this morning, Nigeria and other African nations, as it were benefiting from the agreements that, the summit that is taking place currently in China. And interestingly, $60 billion will be invested by China in infrastructure projects in Africa. Interestingly, Nigeria is going to benefit largely from that because we already have an agreement, that started a secondary agreement, so the president already said there was going to be that continuous agreement. But interesting conversation yesterday, President Xi Jinping said China would not, invest in vanity projects. And with us right now, let me introduce our guests in the studio this morning because they're going to be commenting on that particular thing. We have on my right Dr. Chidi Ulelu. Dr. Chidi is an entrepreneur. Dr. Chidi is the group CEO of Esther Grace. Esther Grace, am I correct? Yes. Yeah. Esther Grace Land Group Limited. And this is Dr. Chidi Ulelu. We have on my right Mr. Damilola Oni. Mr. Damilola Oni is a technology entrepreneur, so he's one of the people that will be benefiting from what China is going to do in Nigeria. We have these two wonderful personalities in the studio this morning, and we're talking this morning about Nigeria's new bilateral agreements. What do we expect? Nigeria's new bilateral agreements. That's why we're starting from China, Dr. Chidi.
Yeah.
Vanity projects. What exactly does that statement connote?
Okay, before now, right from the time of the Mobutus and other people at the back, when you get foreign loans, you get it in a situation where most of the African leaders, they either don't do what they say they want to do with the loan, or they go into white elephant projects that actually do not benefit the people. You go and borrow, you want to build your state house with the loan. You're not going to do a project that will benefit the people. You go and borrow. You're not doing railway with the loan. You're not doing roads with the loan. You want to, go and build something somewhere like a resort. So, and this had always been the case because these are places where you can hide some of the money, and then you're able to, take off
siphon the rest.
So maybe this time Maybe this time. That's what he means.
Oh, okay. Maybe
He doesn't want that kind of thing. I'll tell you why I said maybe later.
This is Dr. Chidi Ulelu speaking to us this morning on the Nigerian new bilateral agreement. Mr. Damla,
Yes.
Damlola, please explain to me, if this is Africa and President Xi Jinping was saying he wouldn't invest in vanity projects. This is not even Nigeria as it were. So, of course, we understand that people say that Nigeria is one of the most corrupt nations in the world, but this is Africa. Doesn't that indict our leaders as a whole?
It does. We've actually had a very good relationship with the Chinese over the years. They've put a lot of money into a lot of investments, and we see some of them whenever it go out. The challenge we've always had in terms of foreign direct investments into this country is it's always mismanaged. We have a lot of white elephant projects, like you mentioned, and corruption is so rife. We all know it's very rife. And so a project starts, say $2 billion was earmarked for that project, and somebody takes 1.5 billion out of it into his
personal
pockets,
coffers.
and then at the end of the day, the project fails. And the people who gave you that money, it's not free money. They had a reason for giving you this money. So over the years, in fact, when President Buhari came into administration, people were watching to see will things really change before they put their money into projects in this country. I think, yes, corruption has been the major problem why people are a bit reluctant to put money into the economy. But I think things are beginning to change from what we can see, and from our discussions today, we'll be able to see if this is the right step.
And as a matter of fact, as Africa as a whole, a lot of nations all over the world are benefiting from this. And I was walking through Oshodi yesterday, and I saw these rail projects that the Lagos State government, I think, is doing in partnership with the federal government. I think that will link us to
Badagry,
Republic of Benin,
yes.
also Republic of Benin back to Nigeria. And I see these are some of the things that we need currently to deal with the transportation problem, that we have in Nigeria. And obviously, China excels at such projects. But how will China, a country that does not allow for corruption, a country that jails their engineers, there was a story a couple of years ago. An engineer built a road, constructed a road in China, and did not do a good job, and he was killed.
Yes.
He was killed. How will China? How do we reconcile? Because China is a communist nation. How do we reconcile what they do in their place, their expectations? Because now this is the government not borrowing us money. This is the government investing. How do we reconcile that expectation with our current situation in Nigeria?
Tomisin, I want to assume that today we want viewers to get a lot of take home.
Yes, definitely.
Because the other space, the criticism space, the anger space is overcrowded.
No.
So we are not going to go there today. Yeah. We are going to look at how these people actually, in their own frame of mind, are seeing what they can do to gain influence in Africa.
Yes.
It's a quid pro quo.
Yeah.
As we allow them to be our, in quote, next overlords, what are they going to take out? They want to be seen as being people that are also influencing Africa.
Yeah.
And Nigeria is strategic for them. 10% of all the trade in Africa is in Nigeria.
It's from Nigeria.
42% of all the trade China does in ECOWAS is in Nigeria. And they are not just giving us a carrot this time. There's a stick. There's a 10-point agenda.
Exactly.
That over the next 12 times 3, 36 months, these are areas that we actually want you to put in this thing. Why I said maybe is, I'm a scientist, but I have not seen where it is possible for somebody to go and do her hair. You're a big mistress at home, they take your hair and do a hair transplant. After plating, they bring the hair back. The person that has the head must go to the barber.
Definitely.
The local situations, capacities to attract and properly utilize these things need to be strengthened. And that's where I'm going to dwell more. That's where I'm going to say, this is what I think we could do. This is what I think we could do. So that when these things come in, they fall on the fertile ground.
We have the prepared ground
yes.
for it
so,
to actually
yes.
For it to be effective, actually.
Yes.
Let the money not just come into our system and
Thank
somebody just dumps money,
yes.
you know.
Yes.
So somebody will just dump money on top of us and we're just thinking that, you know, everything is fine in Nigeria.
The truth of the matter is Nigeria has always been very attractive to foreign investors. We have the population, we have the human capital, and we have the resources. So we've always been able to attract investment from outside from time to time. The challenge we have always had is always mismanagement. We've never really been able to tie down these funds that have come into concrete, yes, exactly, to creating concrete value. It's been very unfortunate because you see a lot of these things on the news, you see a lot of in quotes, good news in quotes on the news, and it's not translating into the common man's life. And the question is why? What's the reason? Why? How do we bridge this gap? You know, to ensure that these things that are coming in, and the truth of the matter is, number one has to be accountability. You know, how do you ensure that every penny that is spent, accountability not just to those who are giving you this funds, but also to the people who elected you or who put you in place to ensure that every penny that is spent in this country is accountable for naira for naira.
Interesting conversation we're having this morning. We're talking about Nigeria's new bilateral agreement, and we're going straight into the next agreement. You know, when I say bilateral agreement, I started from the most recent, which is the China story. We're going now into the visit of two powerful women in the world. People keep asking why Nigeria in 2 years, in just 1 week. You know, in the last 2 years, we've not had that. But in 1 week, we had two powerful women in the world come to Nigeria. The Prime Minister of Great Britain was in Nigeria. The United Kingdom was in Nigeria. That's Theresa May. And we had German Chancellor Angela Merkel was also in Nigeria just in the last 1 week. And these were new agreements. So we'll take a look at some of these discussions with the President. And then we'll come back to the studio and we'll talk about them. We'll be right back.
I'm delighted to be able to be here in Abuja and to be able to continue the very good discussions we had when you were in London in April. And as you say, we already have very good cooperation between the UK and Nigeria across a range of issues: defence, security, trade, relations. We work well together, we cooperate together on global, regional, Commonwealth issues across a range of issues. And I look to strengthen that cooperation and that partnership. And I have brought a wide-ranging business delegation with me to Nigeria as we look to enhance our close commercial ties further in the future. And when we leave the European Union, there will be more opportunities for us to increase those commercial links and trading opportunities. And we, of course, will also be looking to work together to step up our work on shared security threats, be it threats from Boko Haram or human trafficking, a subject on which you and I have spoken previously. And, of course, also cooperate on tackling corruption and lifting people out of poverty. And I'm pleased I'm going to be able to visit Lagos as well as Abuja and see some of the partnership working we're doing here in Nigeria, and explore further some of the business links, and look forward to enhancing this relationship for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. I still would like to emphasize the expenses taken by the British government for moving the Commonwealth barrier for people that participated in World War.
Having successfully signed the agreement, we now.
Dan masa da Allah wannan
Two questions, and thereafter, two journalists from Nigeria. You may wish to invite your guest to make.
Madam Chancellor, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the government and the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I am brief the international press and our officials of the short but very active visit we have paid from yesterday and this morning. Madam Chancellor, please.
Eine Bevölkerung von fast 200 Millionen Menschen. Sie haben immer noch ein Bevölkerungswachstum. Und Deutschland ist auch die größte Volkswirtschaft in der Europäischen Union. Und insofern ist es wichtig, dass wir gute Beziehungen miteinander entwickeln. Wir haben deshalb über die Frage unserer Wirtschaftsbeziehungen gesprochen und das bei denen wir ja nicht nur selbst vorbereitet haben, sehr herzlich bedanken, weil wir jetzt sehr klare Materialien bekommen haben, in welchen Gebieten sie gerne zusammenarbeiten wollen. Nigeria hat es geschafft, dass die Lebensmittel, die hier im Lande gebraucht werden, auch produziert werden können und deshalb ist für Nigeria eine sehr, sehr wichtig, dass wir im Bereich der Landwirtschaft eng zusammenarbeiten und nicht nur im Bereich der industriellen Produktion. Hierfür ist heute auch ein interessantes Memorandum unterschrieben worden, nämlich eine Zusammenarbeit, die dafür Sorge trägt, dass Kredite an landwirtschaftliche Unternehmen gegeben werden können und wir arbeiten die Zentralbank von Nigeria und Deutschland zusammen. Wir haben gleichzeitig einen Memorandum unterschrieben, um die Autoherstellung in Nigeria Volkswagen, auch das ist ein wichtiger Schritt.
That again is another important step, and that opens up the room for further economic cooperation. Today already Nigeria is an important trading partner for Germany, our second most important partner in sub-Saharan Africa. Nigeria is our second most important partner in sub-Saharan Africa.
Im Bereich der Berufsausbildung. Der Präsident hat
to do more and technical and vocational training. 65% of the people who live in Nigeria are younger than 30 years. The president pointed that out to me.
Welcome back. That was an excerpt from the discussion with Theresa May and Angela Merkel. That's the UK Prime Minister and German Chancellor visits to Nigeria just in the last 1 week. Interesting thing to note from Theresa May. What was it for you, sir?
For me, it was cool seeing her wearing a Made in Lagos jacket and then coming all the way. That means we are some people. Our somebodyness has been noticed quite well. So instead of just dwelling on what we actually don't have, I know she came, picked up a lot of goals in different places, but we are important strategically to the world at this time. That is a major takeaway.
Yeah, that's a major takeaway for you and for you.
I don't know if I'll call this a contrary opinion. I don't think they came because they loved us. I think they both the Chancellor and the Prime Minister, they came for their own interests, really, which is not bad. I mean, they have two issues. It's a win. Yes, I mean it's win-win. They have two issues right now. The first is the migrant crisis that is going on. How many of these migrants are coming from Nigeria? Like we know, everybody is trying to look for the better life.
Exactly.
And so there is a giant migrant crisis, not just in Nigeria, because the visit is not only in Nigeria, but also across sub-Saharan Africa. And they're trying to see how can we stem the flow, because it drags on their resources. The more people come from outside, the more it drains the resources they have. And there are also a lot of pressure, a lot of pressure from their people back home. Germans just did their election, and Angela Merkel's coalition was significantly weakened. So she's not in a position of strength even back at home. And same for Theresa May. We all know about Brexit. Yes, and it was because of this huge, majorly because of this huge migration crisis. So that's one reason why they are here. They are trying to see how can we stem the flow of illegal migrants, African slavery, Africans going to Europe as slaves. And the second reason, of course, is to diversify their investment portfolio. Traditionally, Europe has not been our largest trading partners. We typically do a lot of business more with the Chinese and with the Americans than we do with the Europeans. But that has to change for them because, first of all, they're under a lot of pressure from Donald Trump, who is putting a lot of tariffs. And so they need to diversify. And Africa is actually a very fertile ground, exactly. Relatively untapped, even with all the investments we are getting. There's still a lot. We have the population, a lot of
things just selling this country.
Exactly. That's so they are here for their own benefit. However, having said that, it's now left to us to see how we can also get something out of it.
Okay. The German Chancellor was saying that they're going to create 1,000 jobs. She expects more. 100,000 jobs from Theresa May, but the German Chancellor said they wanted more people to come to Germany to study. You know, she was talking about we have very low number of people in Germany studying over there, and she wants more people to come over there. So she's actually looking at people. She wants to create like a room for people to be able to come in legally to actually study and all that. Have you ever taken a look at the educational system before? Is it beneficial to us?
Yes, I have friends. I've also been there, and I have friends who also studied in that system. But you see, taking it back to what we're saying, when I talked about somebodyness, you have a challenge, you want to solve your problem. You go to somebody you feel can make an impact. They came to Kenya, South Africa, and Nigeria. So that being the case, whatever is challenging them, they believe that if they come here, maybe some level of stuff can be done. The Germans already know how much we spend every year in London, paying school fees. They are aware how much we're paying. So they are looking at it also from that.
So it's business.
1,200 only. It looks so paltry compared to what we do in the other places.
In the US, in Canada,
yes.
in Europe.
But like it is, when you look at the whole setup, we are addressing Nigerians today. We are addressing everybody. Petkos of GmbH signed an agreement with Nigerian NISA, Agri Risk Insurance Scheme. That agreement alone means a lot. Apart from the fact that Volkswagen is coming back.
Exactly.
Apart from the other ones that they signed. The same thing with, if they say 100 million, 100,000 jobs for 70 million British pounds. Now, these are areas that people can actually start asking themselves. As a young graduate, as somebody that is just finishing my youth service, as an entrepreneur, small and medium enterprise people, how do I key in into this? How do I key into these things that they have come to drop in order to get something
out of it for
bigger,
myself,
and then it now becomes a complementary stuff. And that there are several ways that can be done almost immediately, especially when you look at the NISA angle. What that has done is whatever they are bringing in, we widen the space. What NISA does is that agri lending.
A lot of people have actually been looking for money.
Thank you. And nobody wants to lend to agri in Nigeria because they believe it's too long term. But with this kind of facility, a banker will be told, give them this agri loan. Even if the loan fails, there's something we got from the German to back up what we have so that you don't go in. So with that alone, somebody can enter into that space. And before I just jump out of it, draw yourself back a little bit to the Chinese. They are bringing 60 billion. They are bringing so much billion. I was talking with my colleague before we came into this place. There is only one problem. I can state it clearly. There is only one problem that is in Nigerian agriculture. That if you solve it today,
we'll have less problems.
You open up the space. Only one major problem. If you solve that problem, you open up the space. And I told him, if you clear and stomp land in Nigeria today, you will be producing, take just rice alone for example, 4 to 5 tons easily, where we are doing only 1 to 2 tons. And so you now find that the rice that is being sold for 3,500 a bag in Thailand is what we are buying for 18,000.
For 18,000 in Nigeria.
Now Chinese, you are bringing these loans. Instead of using it to go and learn Chinese language, capacity building, training that does not come out, can we put it into that kind of project? So you open up, you clear and stop 50,000 hectares in each state, you put 4 million Nigerians to work immediately, and what they produce are of international standards.
And we actually have the population.
What the German Chancellor said about Nigerians being able to go to Germany to study, it's a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it's good. It's good in the sense that some of these things we can learn here in Nigeria. I have a friend who just came back from Germany to study renewable energy.
Renewable energy.
Yes, it's not something you can really study here
in Nigeria or even in Africa.
This country, yes. But the other side of it is that a lot of Nigerians don't come back.
So that's the thing. So that's where I'm coming from.
We go over there, we study, and many of them don't come back because the opportunities to practice some of the things they've learned it's lacking. And that goes to his point. You can't just say, okay, we want you guys to come and study. If they go and study, yes, it's good. Education is key. Knowledge is power. But if these people are not able to translate it to work here in Nigeria, then what's the use? It's of no use. So yes, the first step is for us to make sure that people are as educated. I would rather, of course, the first is to even strengthen our educational systems, even here. But even while that is being done, because it's a long-term strengthening, it's a long-term play. But even while that is done, we send people there. There has to be an incentive to ensure that these people come back
and they come back home.
And I'm hoping that honestly, one of the challenges I have with some of these agreements from our own end is that we don't really know what we want, so we are being reactive. So these guys are the ones coming to us to say we can do this, we can do this.
Because they've identified problems,
some, but
they've identified
we that we are the ones who know what our issues are. We are not able to
strategize
and say yes, this is the roadmap of what we think this partnership can get us to. We don't have any roadmap, so we are just reacting to what they tell us. We are reacting to what they tell us. I mean, if we are smart in this country, you know there are problems, you know you can solve it, because like he said, once again, we are powerful. We have the numbers, we are strategically located, we have the resources, so they will come to us. You know they will come to you. The question now is, what do I want from them? We sit down and say, these are the things we need from you. These are the things they need, and we try to come to a form of agreement where everybody is happy in targeted areas, not just we are investing 60 billion. Okay, we are giving you 60 billion, for instance.
You know, they are solving problems. China wants to spend that 60 billion on infrastructure.
Yes, because that's
without the infrastructure, the money that Britain is bringing and the money that Germany is bringing would not actually impact.
Do you know why China focuses a lot on infrastructure?
Because that's what transformed their society.
Exactly. Well, they also have advantage compared. They have a lot of laborers. They have a lot of know-how. So they have comparative advantage in terms of infrastructure. You know, if we need something like power to be solved, for instance, you may not necessarily go to the Chinese. You may want to go to the Europeans. You know? So it now depends on what do we want from these things.
This particular agreement.
Yes, so that it's very key for us. If not, we just realize that some of these things are coming and everything is just going to one particular area, and we've not really sat down to count what are the things that we really
get
need,
out of this.
these things for in terms of strategic investments.
Well, you know, it just occurred to me now that while all of this is going on, these people, Africa seems to be the only nation, the only continent in the world with no superpower, with no very well established economy.
The South Africans will disagree with you.
I totally disagree with them as well. They don't have the number. That's why countries like Norway, they're not superpowers. They have the money, they have the economy, but they don't have the power. You understand what I'm saying? Singapore is good. They're doing so well, but they're not a superpower because they don't have the population. But Nigeria has the potential.
Yes, we do.
And I think what this is, for me, I'm beginning to think all of this. Don't you think these people are trying to, let's establish Nigeria. If you can get Nigeria's problem sorted and Nigeria becomes, big enough, let Sudanese go to Nigeria.
Let's not.
Don't you think that's
no,
what they're doing?
Let's not. I don't want us once again to come from the mindset that they love us, or they are trying to grow us.
Remember that you said immigration is the problem. They're trying to sort out immigration.
Exactly.
They don't want Africans coming to their place.
Exactly.
So if they sort out Nigeria's problem, it means that Nigeria can absorb some of these people.
Okay, let's look at some facts. Step back a little bit. 2 months ago, the younger one that came from France.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Macron, yeah.
Now, and then these other two.
Yeah, and that's another thing. We have three.
What actually is happening is that the more they keep you being mute and weak, and docile, the more they keep taking what they want to get.
Yeah, from you.
Only is saying the truth. Let me explain now. 14 countries in Africa today have half of their central bank deposits in France. You are allowed if you want. You don't want it again, you can go. But everybody that has tried to say I don't want it again ends up dying as a ruler. So the more, and
that's serious.
50 to 60 billion. I said that 14 countries in Africa today, more than before it was 65%. Now it's 50% of their central bank deposits in France. And that if you say I don't want, on paper you can go back. But everybody that had ever tried to go back as a ruler ends up dying. 60% of all the coup from 26 countries in Africa, France knows how things go. So when they come and then they make you look as if you are, it is what is called, I call it ICU, putting Nigeria in intensive care unit so it doesn't die completely. You understand? And then so that they can keep milking $50 billion a year illegally leave Africa to Europe. And then they now come in with stipends, and then they come. That's why the Chinese were doing 30-something billion. America did 44.
Yeah.
UK did 43 point something.
Yeah.
France did 38, but Chinese have now done 60.
They've raised the bar.
You understand? Because they're about to launch their petrol yuan.
Of course.
They need help. For you to launch petrol yuan means that you are trying to attack the dollar. And there is a trade war out there. The elephants are fighting. So the more we begin to grow as trees, they're just seeing us as grasses. We need to start coming up as trees.
I would pick up from what he's saying, because
nobody will do it for us if we don't do it for ourselves. Right?
Yes, exactly. I'll pick up from what he's saying. I repeated what I said, that we must not. I don't want us to have the mindset that they are doing us a favor. Yeah, nobody. There is no free money anywhere. And there's no free money anywhere. Everybody thinks of themselves first, and then of others before they start thinking of other people. My own take on all this is this: our government has to know what do we really want. Where are we trying to get to? It's not going to be easy trying to. I'll give you an example. Just to buttress what he said, we've had leaders in the past who had a lot of money in Europe, Switzerland. To get that money out of that place,
it's always a problem.
It's war. Why? Because the money is useful for them. They are using it to trade. They are using it to do a lot of things.
So when they say our people actually take our money and put it there,
yeah, so it's majorly Europeans. It's majorly in Europe, Switzerland. It's majorly in Europe. So now my point is, we should not think that these guys are here. You know, they come, they do the photo up, they talk the good game. They know what they want. Yes, they are giving you money, but there are a lot of things that they want in return. Our goal as a country must be to ensure that we are aligned. Their goals are aligned with our goals. But what are our goals? What really do we want? Sector by sector, not just in terms of infrastructure is part of the issue. He mentioned agriculture. Some of these things are very easy to solve. They are not things that are challenging. When somebody gives, I'll tell you something. As flawed as Donald Trump's character may be, there is one thing that you cannot take away from him, which is the fact that he knows what he wants, and he's willing to fight tooth and nail to ensure that it's done, even if it means stepping on anybody's toes as possible. If our leaders could just, as a matter of, just because they know how Nigerians are suffering, have a goal in mind. And when you go for some of these meetings, you tell them this are the things that are pinching us. Some of the things I'll give an example. The migrant crisis is affecting them. But honestly, it's not the number one problem. People leave. In fact, I'm even more concerned about the middle class exodus that is going on now to Canada. A lot of people are leaving to Canada. A lot of people are leaving to
these guys,
to the UK, to the US.
Nigerians are brilliant.
So there's even a middle class exodus that I'm even more concerned about, but that's not even at the top.
And these guys are not doing illegal. That's the point.
Oh, they are not. It's legally.
They're not doing illegal.
It's legally.
They're staring the government in the face and they're saying, you know what, we're leaving you with your problem. It's
legal exodus, and it's a legal exodus. I have a lot of people who have left, and so but it's not even the top of our problem. It's not. You know, we still have a lot more before we can now start saying, okay, how do we retain? Yes, we want them to be retained. So my point is, they come, they have their own, okay, but try to ensure you turn this around for a win-win situation. How are we going to turn some of the things we need to a win-win? But we don't see that.
Sorry to cut you.
Yes, sure.
Let's look at how we are the Asians able to break themselves off from the apron strings.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I studied, part of my study was in Thailand.
Okay.
And these are people that 40-something years ago, I was in primary school then, they wouldn't want an Indian to teach us in primary school. But today they are the ones at the back of the car who were driving. How did India, how did Thailand, how did China manage to break away? I give you some little practical examples on what they did. Number one is, nobody should cry. Nobody should even want to solve their migrant problem. We have 28 billion diaspora remittances every year. So why should we want them to drive our brothers back? Let's leave it like that. But what the Asians did was, number one, they decided to take this kind of bet that Mrs. Michael gave. Every year in Thailand, about 1,800 professionals for about 10 to 15 years, we are being sent to Switzerland, sent to America,
study,
sent to Ivy League schools.
Bring them back.
And they were being paid like king's children. And they were also being assured that once you come back,
You're
the
being
positions
fixed.
are there. And they did that strategically over the next 10 to 15 years. And
over.
what they also did was that they pulled out resources from the national economy and sponsored about 430 research institutes in everything. There's a university for rainmaking in Thailand. There's a university for training monkeys on how to harvest coconuts. You know, why we fast and pray for rain, they just know what to do.
They just know
because
what
somebody,
to do.
there are 8 institutes that study only shrimp genetics. 8 institutes, like our own Neoma. 8.
Wow.
Only on shrimp genetics. So before you know it,
everything
these institutions started thriving, and they didn't know what happened. The Chinese woke up. They didn't know what happened. Today, technology, even nuclear power, that is what the people were able to grow for themselves. Because most of these 430 institutes, they churned out so much researches per year that World Bank, UN,
people started,
agencies started keying in. Nobody helped the Egyptians. It is a Moses that ate their food, stayed in their place. Nobody will come and help you. It's the same system that put us on the ground. It's the same system we should hold on and come up. Looking at Nigeria, what can we do as a country? We can still do as at other times. We have gone to China. There is something going on now. The renminbi swap. 15 billion Chinese, 720 billion of our own naira, $2.5 billion. My brothers in Computer Village, Mr. One that is in high tech. Do you know that from what it is, as CBN explained it, you could actually get in some of these phones at about half the price.
Wow.
Just because you are now buying in yuan and you are not buying in dollars.
You're not buying in dollars.
But over 98% of the target audience that should take advantage of are not aware. So can we tell people that this is available?
This is available
This
for
is
you.
available. As you come back from China, can you set up a commission to educate people?
On what exactly
Can
is
you
available?
actually make it real?
Not just on paper.
Like
do what
it
others
says,
are doing.
show the light. The people will find the way.
Can I ask a question? Because I followed the China story, but the 60 billion for infrastructure, what part of infrastructure?
I think they're looking at roads, they're looking at electricity, they're looking at, if you look at some of the things they're doing, they know that transportation is one of our problems, they know that road is one of our problems. And see, China is going to be very strategic. I think that's where they're focusing their money. They're not giving us the money, they're constructing it for us.
Thank you.
They're not giving us the money.
Yes.
He never said he's giving us the money though.
Yeah,
he said they are constructing it. That's what he said.
If you know the Asian tigers, the 4 of them, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Singapore, and South Korea, the way they because their story is rare because they transited very quickly from poverty to high
Second world.
Nigeria is what number on the list? It's ridiculous. We're 145 and India is 100.
And there are three key areas. All of them are interwoven that transited these countries. The first one is industrialization, infrastructure. The second is they began to export more. And then the third is education, and all of them are linked because without proper infrastructure in place, your road network is bad. How are you able to move goods from one place to the other? Power is almost non-existent. It's terrible. How are you able to power your industries? Then the second is the know-how. Yes, we are intelligent.